Hey guys, welcome to the Editing Bard, the channel that brings you writing tips that make sense. Today is going to be answering some questions that I have been getting from other writers in writing groups, private messages, and just kind of stuff that I've heard all around. So this is a question regarding Grammarly. And Grammarly is a online editing software that you can use, and you can also get a downloadable version so you're not having to use it online. And it has some pros and cons, but one of the things that I really wanted to talk about and address is the top 3 reasons why I think you should just stick with the free version of Grammarly. I don't honestly think that you need to get the premium version because there are better editing softwares out there. So I want to talk about and really kind of play up what I love about the free version of Grammarly, because I have actually completely gone away from the premium version, which I had for close to 2 years, and talk very specifically about the reasons why I did that and moved to just using the free version. So if you have any questions, please feel free to comment over in the chat, and I will answer them while I am live. I don't plan on making this a super long live stream, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So the first thing, and I'm actually going to pull it up because I think it's going to be a lot easier to actually see what I'm talking about here. So this is the main screen. So after you've uploaded something, this is what it looks like. Okay, so this is actually hashtag sneak peek of my book. So as you can see, it is just in general, it's a very clean interface, which I like, but that's not one of the top 3 reasons. So the first reason is actually the correctness alerts. The reason I like this, and the reason I actually moved away from Grammarly Premium, was because they moved the thing that I wanted in the premium version to the free version. Made sense to me. So essentially how it used to be is when you would get into Grammarly, it would not mark punctuation errors. That was part of the premium package. And so that's why I got it, because I knew my punctuation sucks. Comma splices, they're there. I use too many commas in many cases and then far too few in others. And so it was worth the money to learn how to do it properly, or at least have a better understanding of it. But when I discovered that, lo and behold, it's now in the free version, I was like, why am I still paying $140 a year when it's free? So that's kind of the first thing. And the reason why I think that this is such a good reason to get Grammarly is just for the free version, is because it's going to help you better your punctuation, and it's going to give you a cleaner first draft. I think this is a very important tool for authors doing their first draft specifically. Hey, Dal. Yeah, I struggle with punctuation. And so when it comes to punctuation, this is going to give you recommendations to correct it. Now, there are some different things that kind of go along with that when you get into goals and what it's looking for. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that, but it's easier to just kind of set it and leave it and then not touch it again, and remain consistent with it. So this helps a lot. So as you can see, here it says, it seems the sentence contains a series of 3 or more words, phrases, or clauses. Consider inserting a comma to separate the elements. And in this case, I would probably disagree with what it's saying. And here's the thing. It's going to give you recommendations, but that doesn't mean that you have to use them. Okay. That it's not a golden rule. I went through and I changed all of it back when I used to, because I was like, my overall score, it has to hit 100. It has to be 100. now I've relaxed a lot in that regard. So this is what I first and foremost recommend it for, is that when you're doing your first draft, it gives you a cleaner first draft than you would have had you not done it. It's going to make it a lot easier for you, and it's going to cut down on your cost a little bit if you have something that's a little bit more legible, a little bit more grammatically correct when you're looking for editors. Now, there's a lot more that goes into the actual side of copy editing things. Developmental editing isn't really going to come into play here. It's more for when you get to the copy and line edit. So this does help. It's not a cure-all, but it will help. So the next thing for this is, if you go to the overall score where it says 99, it says text score 99 out of 100. Score represents the quality of writing in this document. It's kind of arbitrary, in my opinion. But there are the other two things that are part of my top 3 reasons why you should be getting Grammarly for free. And it has nothing to do with the grammar or the punctuation or some, as you can see, like on the sidebar for the alerts, there's clarity, engagement, and delivery, all that kind of stuff. You don't necessarily need those. Clarity does help. It's one of those alerts that, like, are you speaking clearly? Helpful, not a deal breaker for me. So, hey, Sage. So the second reason why I think that everybody should be getting and using Grammarly for free is up here at the top where it says read time. So the read time is based on the amount of words in the chapter. And this is going to be kind of an average, because there's going to be those who are able to read really, really fast, and there's going to be those who read slower. So this is kind of just taking the baseline. Your average reader is going to take the average reader approximately 7 minutes to read 1,700 words. Yeah, 1,700 words. Sorry, I get the numbers flipped there for a second. I've been staring at the screen for a long time. So the reason why I love figuring out a read time, and I've touched on this in some of my other videos, is that I want to create what I call bingeable books. I used to work in fast food, and so we would get maybe 10-minute breaks, and then we would have our 30-minute lunch break. And I would do as much reading as I possibly could on both of those. So I want to create a book that someone can sit down and read in 10 to 15 minutes on their break. So I'm hoping that they're going to be able to get through a chapter, maybe 2 of my book. But how am I going to know what that looks like if I don't know how long it takes on average to read? Well, this helps me cater to that. So I know that 1,700 words is going to be approximately 14 minutes. So if I double that, then I'm going to be edging in on that 15-minute max read mark. And I try not to have my chapters go beyond 15 minutes. That's kind of the maximum that I aim for. So what does this allow you to do? It allows you to create and to craft a story in a very specific way. It allows you to dictate the beats. It allows you to choose the rhythm, allows you to choose the pace and the flow, and it's being able to be read in 10 to 15 minutes. I love doing this on the first draft. So if I took you through all 30 chapters of the first draft that I wrote, you're going to see an average of around 1,700 words to approximately 2,500 words. And many of the chapters there, I designed very specifically. And I, not to make myself sound like some evil genius, because it was just it just happened. But when I went into the mindset of going, okay, this is the read time that I want to have, and it allowed me to craft a chapter that fit within those parameters that I was looking for. And I knew that if I had a shorter chapter on the front end with a 7-minute read time, guess what? Aside from the reader taking 10 to 15 minutes or so to read my chapter, what do you think is going to happen when you actually go back to edit your chapters? It's going to be a lot shorter of a time span than it would be if you're trying to edit some gargantuan sized 5,000 word chapter. Because let's face it, when you're editing that size of a chapter, it feels like it goes on forever. If you have a smaller chapter in the beginning and you have a 7-minute read time, then your editing time is going to be much, much smaller because you're not having to cut down a whole bunch of stuff. What it's allowing you to do is actually freeing you up to create more on the second run. So it is, what's the word I'm looking for? So instead of, let's saying 2 hours to edit a 5,000 word chapter, because it's going to slow you down, right? It's going to amplify the read time because you're having to go through it at a much slower pace. So then when you go into it and you have a smaller chapter that you're kind of reworking, you're able to kind of fill it out a little bit more and it feels less intimidating. So, and it's especially helpful for newer authors if they've never kind of gone through the process of editing and they just kind of create these bloated chapters because they think that they're supposed to have really, really long chapters. Then it makes it that much easier for them to go back through on the second pass because they're not having to do as much. So that is the second reason why I like using Grammarly, and it's for free. You get this in the free version. The third and final one that is more important to me because I aim for a YA audience, I want to make sure that I'm actually writing and catering to that audience, not dumbing down what I'm writing, but just making sure that it's within the readability range that I'm aiming for. And so when you go down to the readability section here and you see the readability score, the higher that score is, the easier it is for people to read. So this chapter, and I've checked in the second draft, and I've run that through Pro Writing Aid. The second draft, I've hit the same age level. So my book is able to be read by someone age 11. So that is someone that they're going to be able to get down, get in it, and enjoy the story at that young of an age. They're going to understand all of the concepts. Well, maybe not all of the concepts, but they're going to be able to read it and they're going to be able to understand it. So if you're writing for YA and you're not entirely sure, like, okay, I think I'm on track, I might be. I've known some people who were like, yeah, I'm writing YA. And I'm like, you're really off. You got a low readability score here. So some things are going to need to change if you're going to hit that target audience. If you're writing kids books, and I mean, kids books are a little bit different because they're a lot easier reads. But you also need to make sure that you are actually catering to their reading level. Just because you think it's at a level that they're going to be able to read doesn't necessarily mean that it is. And if you're trying to go and have a more adult sounding vocabulary, then you want to aim for, I think the average that people try and shoot for is around like 70, 72. So mine's a little bit higher. But that's kind of the average. The average American reading level is about 7th grade reading level. So that's where most people try and aim. And that's around the 70 for the score mark. So those are the top 3 things that I recommend getting Grammarly for when you're going through the first draft. Because honestly, when you are trying to maneuver your way through a first draft, it's going to be messy. And it's okay that it's messy. It really, really is. The reason why I like the correctness tool is that it allows me to create a slightly cleaner first draft for myself and for my editor. Because I will send my manuscript out to an editor on the first draft. I have no qualms about that. But it makes it a little bit better, a little bit cleaner. And like I said, you can kind of play around with the goals. I didn't get into this a whole lot because as the free version, there are some things that you can't do, right? And it does change. Like your audience level, you can change that a little bit. I like to keep it as knowledgeable because it doesn't dumb down the wording so much. I keep it as informal in everything that I do because it's creative. I want it to be that. And because I can't technically choose creative because it's no longer a premium account, which I was able to do before, then it just sticks with general. And the tone, I don't really even mess with that, but I always make sure that I highlight to tell a story and to describe, because I want to describe and tell a good story. Now, does this mean that Grammarly Premium is bad or sucks? No, it does not. Do I think people need to spend $140 a year in order to produce a good book? No, I don't. The premium edition of Grammarly really, they kind of gave away all of the stuff that was worth paying a little bit more, in my opinion, such as the punctuation. That one was a big one. They have engagement as premium. I haven't noticed a huge difference in my writing. My writing is still engaging. It still kind of tells you, it just doesn't tell you how specific. And then the delivery, again, I honestly haven't noticed a huge difference in my writing since cutting it out. I haven't lost anything because if I'm correcting a lot of the grammar issues or the punctuation issues, guess what? The other stuff actually kind of goes along with that. So why would I pay $140? And again, this is for the year. $140 is for the year. You can get it as low as like $12 a month or something, like it's something like that. To me, it wasn't worth it anymore because I actually transitioned to using Pro Writing Aid. The other thing about the free version of Grammarly is that you can put it into your web browser and it will correct you on almost all sites like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and your Gmail. I mean, it will do those things if you allow it. The free version of Grammarly for Google Docs sucks. It was still in beta and it was awful. It doesn't give you any of this, and so I don't recommend it for Google Docs at all. Get the downloadable version. What I do is actually, this is in the web app, but I do the downloadable version where it's actually on my desktop. I open it all up, it saves it to the cloud, and I can access it anywhere. Anywhere that I go to write it, I can do it. And it is fantastic. It keeps track of everything. I wouldn't say it's incredibly organized, but it does keep track of everything. And it's on there. It's on my laptop. It's much easier to do than going to the website itself. So that is what I recommend, guys. If you guys want to give Grammarly a try, which I recommend, even if you've never used Grammarly before, I do recommend you at least try it out, see if it's going to be the right fit for you. See if it does help. They have fixed some of the formatting issues that were an issue before. and you can do italics and bold and underline and all that kind of stuff. You can choose different fonts. It is very helpful, and they've improved a lot of the interface when it comes to that. And actually, let me just show you guys real quick what it looks like as just a new document, because like I said, it's a much cleaner interface. So you guys can see that it is, let me blow it up a little bit. I guess I really didn't do a whole lot. So you have everything over here on the side, but down here, it tells you your words. You can do it in words, characters, seconds of read time, speaking time. I don't really worry about speaking time. You can now add links. You can add bullet points in a numbered list, heading 2 and heading 1. So they've really improved on the free version a lot. So if you want to try that out, there is a link down below, and just give it a try. That's all I can recommend, because everybody's going to have a different flavor. It's going to be different for every single author. Some are going to hate that and love Ginger. I just kind of heard about Ginger. I wasn't super impressed with it, because honestly, like, I get everything that it had paid with either between Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid, and so I probably won't give it a try. But test it out for yourself. Let's see if, I saw the questions over here. It will only feel like here. So this is going back to, I'm assuming, the chapter length. I think that's where I saw this kind of pop up. I mean, I love my story. I've loved clients' stories, but 5,000 words is way too long. And that's my opinion as an editor, and as an author. 5,000 words is too long. You can get away with some of that if you have some scene breaks kind of sprinkled in there, but from start to finish, I mean, that's going to be a lot of pages to try and get through for someone. And just as a rule of thumb, I try not to go more than like 10-15 pages, or 10-15 minutes for read time. 5,000 words, that's easily getting close to a half an hour. Sage says, I respectfully disagree. I like my story, but there are still times, especially when I'm editing, I'm just burnt out on it. Yeah, totally get that. 5,000 or 3,500 to 4,000 words, edit them slowly. I mean, 3,500 words, 4,000 words is the maximum that I typically recommend to authors in general. But 3,500 words is a really nice range. You're looking at a really nice read time. And so it is a different thing. Again, adult, it is a little bit different. Adults have a little bit longer attention span sometimes. So, that can definitely help. Yep. Burnout days are natural. Give me all the freebies. I feel that. And Grammarly is a great freebie. I tell everybody that I recommend the free version of Grammarly, especially for first draft. You're running your stuff through a first draft, and then if possible, you're able to get a better software. Because like I use Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid combined, because Grammarly actually picks up stuff in Pro Writing Aid that Pro Writing Aid doesn't pick up, and it does not work the other way around. So I do recommend that if possible. If not, definitely get the free version, because hey, Sills, yes, glad that you got it. Yeah, docs is not good in the docs. Very, very bad. So I don't recommend using Grammarly with docs. It is atrocious. Granted, I haven't used, I've used it in Word, and Word works really well. But docs it just doesn't play well at all. I used to run my stuff through Hemingway. Now I use mostly PWA. Yeah, I haven't used Hemingway. I've heard hit and miss and stuff about Hemingway. I'll probably do a review on it at some point. When I took just kind of a quick look at it, I wasn't super impressed. But that's because I have a very specific template that I follow with my writing when it comes to using Grammarly, and I use it for a very specific reason that Hemingway is not going to help me with. Yeah, that's a great way to kind of test out the different things and see what's working. And honestly, that's what I recommend, guys. Like, while I'm talking about the 3 top reasons why I'm recommending you just stick with the free version of Grammarly and don't, in my opinion, waste $140 a year. And that's if you buy it for the year. I see it as a waste. You could be saving up that money and putting that away towards something else, and using the free version of Grammarly to get you a good head start on your first draft. Write everything in your first draft in Grammarly, or use the Grammarly plugin or extension for Word. It's that is a part of the free thing, is just they have a free extension. You just get the shiny things, and honestly, the shiny things are no longer all that shiny. There's better software out there to give you that kind of recommendation and feedback. This is basic punctuation, basic grammar errors, and it is going to make your writing, and you're going to learn how to do it better if you take it as a suggestion, and then you move on to, okay, I know how I can do this. I'm breaking this rule here, and that's fine. So that is definitely what I would recommend there, guys. So short stream today. I wanted to just answer some of those questions that I had been getting on the top 3 reasons why. Get it for the correctness alerts. It's going to improve your writing. It's going to improve your first draft overall. And if you use the read time and you kind of cater to that, because you can do that. You can do that for your books. Every single chapter you can make a bingeable book. It does not matter how long the book is, but if you can create a bingeable book, that is going to be a game changer, in my opinion, when it comes to readers reading your book, because they cannot put it down because you've crafted it very, very specifically. And then lastly, the readability score. So important to have the readability score and to take that into consideration depending on the genre that you are writing. But specifically, if you are writing YA or middle grade, and you want to make sure that you're hitting that age range appropriately, Grammarly is going to be able to tell you that. Pro Writing Aid does too, but unless you have the money to drop on Pro Writing Aid, we are talking about something that is free and that is going to give you all that kind of information. So again, guys, if you want to give it a test and try it out, the link is down below in the show notes. You can click that and follow it. Simple download, and then you guys are off to the races. Thank you guys for joining. Sage, I look forward to seeing the first draft of your chapter 1. You'll find out at the end of the course. And hey, Heather, glad you guys stopped by and said hi. And yes, I'm glad that you've been using the free version. Seriously, it's going to make a huge difference. So guys, thank you so much. If you have any further questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. I'm always checking them to make sure that I can give you guys as much feedback as I possibly can. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you later. Take care.